Hello, and welcome to the online edition of the Youth Film Festival. My name is Alex Eggersdorf. I'm one of the writers and also help with the selection committee of our film festivals. Today, we have a Q&A session with Meggs and Max Hendrickson for their film FOMO. Hi, Max. Hi, Kevin. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name is Meggs. I'm a 16-year-old filmmaker, I guess, from Ireland, and yeah, I'm delighted that FOMO was selected, and yeah.
Hi, my name is Max Hendrickson. I'm also a 16-year-old filmmaker from Dublin, and I did the animated segment for FOMO.
Fantastic. So I just did an interview with Max where we talked about his film Wendigo.
Yes.
And there's animated sequences here too, but both of you, Kevin and Max, are both really accomplished filmmakers, both live action and animated, which is very much on display here with FOMO. And I was really curious, how did you first meet, and how did you kind of realize that both of you are quite savvy when it comes to filmmaking and storytelling?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, Max is the kind of, well, originally we met at a film festival that's based in Ireland, but we kind of indirectly met each other there. We weren't aware of who each other were properly. But then we went into a film camp, and due to COVID, it was online. It was an online film summer camp, and we talked a little bit. And after talking, we soon realized that we had seen each other's films previously at another film festival, and that's when we were kind of like, "Oh, I saw your film. That was really cool." And then Max was like, "Oh yeah, I saw your film as well," and that's how we kind of connected. And yeah, I just knew Max was extremely talented in filmmaking, and after those camps, it's all about kind of networking and just keeping in touch with everyone, and we kept in touch. And yeah, that's kind of how we originally met. If Max thinks that's how it went as well.
Yeah, and then Kevin just sort of approached me and said, "Hey, I've got this idea for a short film that would have sort of an animated bit in it. Would you be up for that?" And yeah, the rest is history.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up that Kevin had the idea of an animated sequence for his film, or his film idea at the beginning. Kevin, why did you decide that a mix of live action and animated was going to be the best way to tell the story? And how did you kind of make those decisions maybe together? What should be animated, what should be live action, and how that transition works?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I knew I wanted to make kind of a simple concept in one way, and I knew if I were to obviously it's about a guy who misses his bus due to being, distracted on his phone, and I knew if I were to just record a guy at a bus stop and the bus passes him by, that's it. It would be not entertaining enough. It wouldn't grasp the audience enough. So I knew I had to bring a new element into the film. And that's when I was like, well, hang on, what if I don't know, I don't really know why animation suddenly popped into my head. I guess I thought like special effects would kind of, spice it up a little bit and like grasp the audience and make it more entertaining. And that's when I already knew Max, and I knew he was extremely talented on the side of animation. So yeah, it was just kind of like if we fuse the two worlds of live action and animation together, I thought it would come together really well. So yeah, basically I just wanted to spice the film up a little bit with cool effects, and I knew Max would be very well suited for that.
Max, did you have something to say about kind of coming into this process and working with both the live action footage and then making your animated sequence?
Yeah, well, I think we didn't really have that solid of an idea of sort of how the animation would look. So I came to the shoot back in October, and we filmed the stuff out by the seaside, and then I was able to sort of take that footage and go, okay, how, what would make a cool transition between these two, and sort of like I thought it would be sort of necessary to have the animated character be like sort of similar in proportions to the real life character, and sort of like realistic but stylized. So because otherwise the sort of transition from live action to animation wouldn't work so well if it was, like a sort of a less human proportioned character. Yeah, and I guess it was just experimenting around with styles and stuff, and sort of showing Kevin the results.
Right. Well, I was going to say, I thought that both of the transitions were really, really seamless. And I thought that, you know, in order to make that happen, I guess you really do have to decide, okay, when is that transition happening? How are we going to do it? What is the shot going to look like? How would that same bus stop look like in animation, right? But I was actually really curious, since there's also, I guess, many scenarios that the animated character finds himself in front of a huge wall of scrolling screens, like kind of almost overflown by these likes and hearts, and then falling into like a pit, and then there's a train. How did you come up with these scenarios for this animated character? Did you do that together? And how were you thinking that these scenarios would best convey your idea?
Yeah, I think it was well, what we did was we kind of hopped on Zoom calls like this, and it was kind of like I would describe my vision for the film via showing references. Like kind of the whole style of like the ground was kind of this kind of shallow water that he was standing on. I gave him a reference from a movie that I saw, and I kind of took inspiration from that. So I would describe my vision to Max, and he would describe his vision to me, and he would go off and he'd work on it, and he'd show me what he's done, and we go, okay, so that works, but that doesn't work, so let's change that a little bit and do that. And it was, yeah, ultimately for me, it was just about sharing each other's vision, so we could just have the one vision for the film, what it was all going to look like. And yeah, in terms of the towers, I remember just saying to Max, yeah, just have something really massive. I didn't know it was going to be towers, but something massive kind of just coming out of the ground, being really daunting. So yeah, it was just kind of about experimenting. And yeah, obviously Max was really patient sometimes as well, because sometimes I found it difficult to verbally express how I wanted the film to look, but he was really understanding of how I'm really patient to understand what I was trying to get across to him. So
Yeah, I mean, like we really saw eye to eye on most things. You know, and it was very collaborative and stuff. And you know, we both sort of had a like not that much of a vision, so it was able to be sort of, you know, sculpted as the process went along, and sort of, you know, experiment with what works and stuff.
Well, Max, your last film is quite outright. It's a horror film, right? Wendigo is a horror film, and I would argue that this one kind of is as well, right? It's kind of like a terrifying vision, and I'm really curious about how you decided to kind of strike that tone. What was this kind of overwhelming, kind of terrifying atmosphere were you hoping to kind of have the audience kind of receive from it?
yeah,
Well, I suppose, yeah, you go
yeah,
ahead.
I'll go on today. No, you go on. Good job.
Yeah, well, I think what was I going to say? Oh yeah, well, Kevin wanted it to sort of be like, when he first goes in, it's sort of like, you know, a sort of odd, you know, like mystical thing, but then it's sort of the tension, like the sort of intensity sort of builds and builds until he, you know, snaps out of it at the end.
Right. Kevin, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think the music also played a big part. I originally wanted, well, I got in contact with a music composer so he could customize the music and build the music itself to really fit like the whole atmosphere of the film. I think, yeah, it was the music played a big part. It was also about kind of like the camera angles as well within the animation, where it kind of has that zoom shot where it kind of pans out and you see the sheer amount of like posts coming out of the ground and everything like that, and how daunting it is. So yeah, it was just about kind of displaying that atmosphere of, yeah, it's basically like a horror and how like kind of scary it is. And yeah, the music was a big part in that. The sound effects, I looked up on YouTube, kind of like apocalyptic kind of sound effects to kind of add in the background, and you'll notice in the background there's kind of like this kind of dripping water sound effect, like a sound of dripped water, kind of just like it's kind of constant throughout the animation of the thing. And then yeah, it's just kind of, as Max said, just kind of building this sense of nearly anxiety, I guess, and fear, and just eeriness, I suppose, about the whole thing.
Right. Max, you mentioned in the last interview that 3D animation is something that you find quite difficult, but this one does have 3D animation, and I was wondering if you had some difficulty, or if you came across some issues there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like just sort of having characters that are, you know, realistic, like faces particularly is, you know, particularly difficult to do in 3D because, you know, it like if faces are slightly off, then, you know, the character can just look really sort of, you know, like uncanny or sort of spooky. So I think like sort of from the limitations of, you know, I just didn't really have the ability to do sort of good looking 3D characters, that we sort of landed upon the like silhouette sort of character with the just sort of the various patterns as like a texture on it.
Well, I think the silhouette works wonderfully, and I think it actually might serve the story even better because it kind of allows the audience member to kind of reflect themselves onto this silhouetted figure in a way, see if they can relate to this character and his experience in any way. I guess the next question I have is, are you aiming to collaborate again, or how does this kind of work out from here on out?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I definitely love to work with Max again. In what format that'll be, who knows? You know, I think me and Max are both working on our own individual projects at all times, but sometimes, say, I might need help. I'm currently working on a film, and I want to create a cool credit sequence for the film at the end. So me and Max are talking about him possibly working on a cool animated title that he could put into the film. And if Max ever needs help with live action for filming or anything like that, or if he needs, we said maybe if he needs a voice for one of the characters, I'd be happy to do that. So absolutely, yeah, we're always staying in contact. And I think if yeah, Max, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of, I mean, I'd love to work on another, you know, sort of big collaborative project like FOMO. Yeah, but I'm happy to do, you know, just stuff like little title sequences or stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a cool project as well. Always just keeping in touch, and yeah, it's just about like just if any of us ever has any one of us has an idea, just keep in contact and say if we want to work together.
Right, and Kevin, you're interested in staying in live action filmmaking right now, and you said you have a project in the works, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much, Kevin and Max, for taking the time out of your day to chat with us about your wonderful films. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, and it's really exciting to see such young filmmakers have such craft already. It's really fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.